What's up, guys? My name is Jennifer Genao, and you are listening to the one and only Generally Speaking podcast located right here in Jacksonville, Florida. I get raw, real, and juicy with the hottest creatives, local talents, and businesses located in the best city in the Sunshine State, and that's Jacksonville. If you love Generally Speaking and want to share all of what's amazing about Jacksonville, follow me on Instagram for more updates on the podcast. Generally Speaking is available on all major platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Are we on?
No, yeah, today's focus is a special podcast, and I cannot wait to share it with you. With the remembrance of 9/11 coming up next week, I decided to do a tribute episode to recognize and pay respects to all those who serve our country every day, including our great military and first responders. We will never forget September 11th, 2001, when 4 coordinated attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda against the United States. These attacks were instigated the multi-decade global war on terror, where thousands of military men and women have lost their lives. We honor today and every day those who serve, have served, and those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country and freedom. So today, it's only fitting that my guests are 2 veterans of the United States military who have served and protected our freedom for a combined total of over 50 years together. My first guest you will absolutely love, born and raised in New Jersey, joined the United States Marine Corps, and retired after 24 years of dedicated service as a mastery gunnery sergeant. He loves to fish, travel, drink beer, spend times outdoors, and spoils his favorite niece, Jennifer. Without further ado, welcome United States Marine Corps veteran, Albe Genao.
Thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me out here.
There you go.
This will be fun.
Just sit down, everybody sit down. Big crowd.
There was supposed to be like a little cheer horn. There you go.
Wow, that's a full stadium. That's a full stadium.
My second guest was also born and raised in New Jersey, joined the United States Navy at 18, served for 29 dedicated years before retiring as a Chief Warrant Officer for. This man loves to work out, drink old fashions, smoke cigars, and most importantly, he loves being my dad the most. Please help me welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the United States Navy veteran, Chief Warrant Officer, Noel Genao.
Thank you.
Anchor down.
Love you all.
Anchor down.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. How's everybody feeling?
Good.
This is wonderful. This is
Awesome.
wonderful. You know what? I just want to say thank you for inviting us. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
We see you on Facebook all the time, and I think you're doing wonderful things.
Oh, thank you.
Before we start, because I'm better than your dad, we want to give you a gift.
Oh, yay! I never got a gift.
Just something small. We thought about you while we were out in the
Oh my God,
outlet.
thanks.
We were shopping in the outlets, and we decided to get you something.
Should I open this later? Later. Okay,
I don't want to take all the credit because Linda, my wife, is wonderful, and she thinks about those things.
Oh, we love Linda. Shout out to Linda.
Look, I'm just glad that I'm just glad that your people got with our people and got us here today. Okay.
Thank you for getting your people with my people. I'm very excited to have you both on.
And my gift for you was life. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Dad.
And here's your mom over there.
Yeah, thank you, Mom.
Who did the real
Biggest
hard work?
gift
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you both of you guys for being on today. It was actually my dad who had this idea to do a 9/11 tribute week. So it is my dad's credit that we are all here today. And so, but I'm going to steal the idea. So, and we are going to honor the military and first responders in this episode. Jacksonville being a huge naval, or has a huge Navy port in Mayport. And then you have NAS Jax. So those 2 things right there tie this all together into Generally Speaking as well. Combining 9/11 and Jacksonville and its military presence go hand in hand. So let's get into it. So I want to start off with some bios and military history for both of you guys. So Albe, would you like to start on where did you start and where are you now?
Well, I started in New Jersey. I joined the Marine Corps in 1992. Did some overseas tour. Ended up in California. Went through Jacksonville, North Carolina, not Jacksonville, Florida, North Carolina.
Boo!
Fake Jacksonville. Yeah.
Not quite the big. It's not as big as Jacksonville, Florida. But we spent about a total of 9 years there. Spent 3 years in Okinawa, Japan. Came back, and now.
How was Okinawa?
I loved it. We, loved it so much that I wanted to stay there another 3 years.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, Linda wanted to go to Target and Walmart, so they don't have those things in Okinawa, Japan. So I lost out. And
that's how you make your decision where you're going.
She misses Walmart, Target, all those stuff. I was like, "You crazy?" But the funny thing is, once we got back and the first day she went to Walmart, she was like, "They're so rude." Welcome to the
Welcome back to America.
We ended up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Then I got orders. Once I got selected, ended up in Fort Gordon, Augusta, Georgia, running the satellite communications school there on an Army installation. I love Augusta. The kids were getting older, and we decided just to retire there.
Yeah. Aren't you in Grovetown?
We live in Grovetown, but Augusta is kind of
it's not Groovetown.
No,
it's Grove.
Yeah.
I thought it was Groovetown, so figured go down there.
Dad, oh my God, you know it wasn't Grovetown.
It's Groovetown when we're there. It's groovy. It's groovy.
Well, thank you for sharing that, especially about where you started. It always is important to share where you started, your journey and where you are now. Dad, where did you start and where are you now? Where are you now?
I started out of the same house he started back in 1993, December 1993. Decided to join the Navy. I was kind of woodhinked to join the Navy by opening up an ad in the newspaper and say, "Oh, look, I'm going to be a firefighter." So I was like, "Yeah, sure," and never knew nothing about the Navy. So joined that way, and first duty station was San Diego, California. That's where we got. That was there. We did 6 years, and that's where you were born.
Yay! California. I was born in San Diego, guys. Yes. I did not live there,
Balboa Hospital. She was born there. We served on the USS Essex, was my first ship. And from there, we moved on to Annapolis, Maryland. That was our first shore duty. Did the Naval Academy. We went up to Virginia.
I love Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia. We were there, and we were there for a long time. We did a couple ships there. Then we hooked up on one of the ships, took a ride down to Jacksonville, and was stationed on Jacksonville here since 2014, right, hon? 2014?
I think, that's when I graduated high school.
2014, and we've been here ever since. Retired from here, and now work for the government.
Yeah, you retired and then went right back to work.
Top secret stuff.
I can't tell you what I'm going to do. If I tell you, I got to kill you.
Well, thank you both for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I wanted to get into our main questions here for the podcast. I'll start with Albe.
Why me? Why?
Because, I don't know. I could switch it up. Then my groove's all messed up. See, now I can't find where I was. So, since it is a 9/11 tribute podcast, I wanted the first couple of questions to be surrounded by 9/11, and it was just a terrible thing in history that has happened. It has shaped the United States into where we are now, and policies and everything that we do overseas affairs and everything, and how it's changed from 2001 to now. So where were you when 9/11 happened?
We were stationed in North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina.
I love that it's Jacksonville, North Carolina. But people are going to watch this and be like, Jacksonville.
Yeah, there is a Jacksonville. There are many Jacksonvilles, actually. But we were in North Carolina. The day that it happened, I was actually on the rifle range.
Okay.
I was on the 300-yard line. I went and get a snack at the G-Junk truck,
What kind of snack? Do you remember?
It was just a drink, a juice. It's a hot day. It gets muggy there too. So while I went to the truck, the gentleman running the truck had a little radio, and he was listening to the news, and they just said that the planes hit the towers. And I just shrugged it off because I know how big that tower is. And I'm like, the little plane ain't going to do nothing to that tower.
Yeah, it just skimmed it.
It just skimmed it, yeah. But,
it just skimmed it.
You don't think about, the bigger picture. We actually continued training. We didn't stop training. I ended up down at the pits pulling targets. And that's when the towers came down. The rumors were going around the target.
Oh, wow.
The towers came. I still didn't believe it because we didn't have no radio. I mean, we didn't have no TV there. But we finished training. I ended up home. I went home and saw the news, and it was like a shocker.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was the talk of the rifle range.
Were you home, Linda? You. Oh, she was home.
She was at Target.
Yeah, she was a Target. She saw it on the big screen.
Shopping
for the big screen, big flat screen.
Where were you, Dad, at in 9/11?
Well, first of all,
I think I remember when Mom was telling me where she was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't remember if you were with her.
Well, first of all, thanks for doing this for the 9/11 tribute.
You're welcome.
This is a salute to all the active duty men and women out there. They're out there right now deployed, still defending this nation. And the veterans who went through all that, the 9/11 stuff. So I can give you a perspective prior to the 9/11 and after, and what the military.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right, I got the questions.
So okay, where was I? We were at the Naval Academy. I was at work at the Naval Academy. Your mother was at work as well. You and your sister and your brother were at school. And I was in my office having my coffee. Beautiful day, Tuesday. I can remember everything that happened. I can tell you, like I was telling Albe, I remember what football game was the night before. I mean, I can remember all that. So around 8:30, 8:45, my secretary that I worked with, her name is Linda. And she comes to me, hey, there's a fire on the World Trade Center. Some plane hit it. I'm like, oh, so we had a TV in the conference room right off my office, and we go in there, and I can even tell you which channel we were watching. I remember it was NBC. It was Matt Lauer, and Matt Lauer was on it. And I was like, and I thought the same thing Albie was thinking. Like some small plane, some idiot just hit the plane. It wasn't watching or fell asleep or got a heart attack or whatever. And we were watching the TV and live, and that second plane hit.
Oh wow!
So right away we knew it was intentional. This is not good. So things were rolling, and then we're at the Naval Academy. All right, so think about it. The future of officers of the Navy and the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
are all there.
And you're super close. I mean, you're
okay. So
distance wise, you're right there.
So around 10:30, when the third plane crashed into the Pentagon, right?
Crazy.
That's Pentagon's only 39 miles away from the Naval Academy. That's
wow! I didn't even. Yeah.
39 miles away. It's about an hour drive. So the phones just start going off the hook. Parents will call in the academy. They want to know how the kids, where they're at. Are they okay? Even my office, and I worked at the biggest building, the engineering building. It was getting phone calls. I'm like, and some mom said, hey, I need to talk to my son. And well, anyway, I was like, look, I can't. I'm pretty sure your son's okay, but you need to call the main office. Keep trying. So they let everybody go. They started doing a complete shutdown of the academy. And the first thing I did was call your mother, right? The first person I called and said, hey, you need to go watch the TV. We're on the attack. So she did. And
you were at work, Mom?
She was at work. She started. So they locked down the Naval Academy, and they started locking down all schools. So that's where we were like, oh, we need to go get the kids. So we go over the bridge. I go over the bridge, and I meet your mom at the front gate. And this is the image that always stays around that we can remember is the school bus, like she was saying, pulled up before the gate with Humvees and Marines on M60s manned up and escorting you guys off the bus.
Oh, really?
Escorting every kid with armed Marines. And so that image in my head just
it's burned into your head forever.
Because we at war. I mean, this is crazy.
Right.
And we went to the house, all the kids, and I remember Noel saying the first question he asked when he got off the bus, he said, hey, Dad, are we on attack? I'm like, no, we got some airplanes.
I could just see Noel coming off the bus.
Yes.
Noel being Noel.
Yeah. So we got to the house, and we just spent the rest of the day watching the news, and that's how.
I can only imagine the feelings like conjuring up as that's happening, right? And being active at that point. I mean, I can only imagine what's going through your head. And especially, I mean, what Noel asked is a very valid question. As silly as that, as I am to laugh at that, it's a very valid, exactly.
We were on the attack.
Exactly. And I can only imagine, I was only like 5 years old. So it's not anything. I don't even remember. I don't remember it till being taught it later in school, right? So
right.
like, because I had no recollection, like, I was 5, we were in Annapolis, right? But when I was taught later in school about it, I remember not comprehending it till obviously I could ask mom or you about it and be like, where were you? Where were we? Everything. And it's crazy. And I could not even imagine what was going through both of, especially your proximity, and everything. And then where you were and everything. So
a lot of questions, Marines, is like, what's next? What are we doing? What's the response? And I mean, at that moment, it's unprecedented because the amount of flights that were landed, that were grounded, I mean, we cleared the sky. Like every plane in the sky was on the ground. That's how
really?
fast. Yeah. If there was a plane in the air, that was a terrorist plane. That's how, now you think about how many planes are flying right now, everybody going on vacation, tens of thousands of planes just flying in the air right now. Every single plane is grounded.
Wow.
Nobody coming from another country. I mean, it's probably the one time that the sky was clear. You would not see a red dot.
Wow.
So it's unprecedented what happened that day. And it was shocking. It took another year to respond, but yeah.
And I was concerned. I told your mom, say, look, they're going to call me. I'm going to probably deploy here soon. So they're going to canix my shore duty and back on the ship.
Yeah.
So that was the concern that we were talking about.
Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely.
A lot of families on the military had to prepare.
Yeah. They had to ready to go.
Make sure that the things are ready and that they're going to be gone for a little while.
What was, Dad, what was the biggest change you would have to say before and after September 11th, 2001, and not only for U.S. civilians, but as yourself in the military?
Oh, biggest change?
You can list however many.
All right. So the biggest one for me prior to September 11th, we were a lax military. We were able to pull in any country, have a good time, and not worry about, being attacked or security. And, we enjoyed, deploying and having a good time. After 9/11, that all stopped.
Really?
Oh yeah, it all stopped.
Really?
All stopped. You can't get off the ship. We pull into another country, and it was very limited to what countries you can pull in. It went from a list of 100 to maybe 5. So
really,
and then,
wow.
And there's only certain times you can get off, and it was just ridiculous. So that was the major.
Why
change.
was it? Was it because of our relations or a combination of countries' relations with us because of that? Was it a preventative thing? What was the mindset from going?
It was safety.
Safety.
It's keeping our Americans, our sailors and Marines safe.
So it wasn't those countries making that. It was our country limiting.
Keeping our hands up, we being ready, because it can happen anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
That's the one thing is it over yet?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. It was one day, then a week, then 2 weeks, and we were still. I mean, New York City took the blunt of it, and they're still recovering to this day. I mean, so to them, 1 week was still the same day. I mean, they were trying to pull bodies out. There's still over 1,100 people missing. They couldn't found their remains. So.
Really?
So.
Oh wow.
So for us, we're thinking, what's next? Let's prepare. Let's train. At least for the Marines. I don't know about the Navy. They were more at the NWR trying to play some pool.
No way.
We were ready. The funny thing is that I wanted to join in the first Gulf War, and when I joined, I was in training, and the war ended. So I had 10 years of peacetime. So like he said, we kind of do the training, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's next? Like, this is getting boring, and kind of question, why am I doing this? And then that happened, and it was a different mindset.
Oh, right. No, yeah, anything could happen at any time. So, and that's why they do what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Albe, how did you imagine military life before you joined? Did you have any perceptions of it, and then it changed after serving?
I did not have any perception. I think he found out in the newspaper because he wanted to be a fireman. My story is a little different. I think I was a recruiter, so I shout out to the recruiters out there that are working hard trying to get young men and women in. But I was working in Toys R Us, right? I was department head there for a long time. I went up for a managerial position, So I really wasn't thinking about military. But because I was 19 years old, they didn't promote me to manager because they didn't believe that even though my performance was great, my interview was great.
It was too short.
I was too.
No way.
Yeah, height discrimination. Well, they thought that my age, because of my age, that the employees wouldn't respect me. So that was the moment where, my girlfriend at the time, she was a real good looking girl.
Yeah. What was her name again?
Her name is Linda.
Her name is Linda.
That's my wife. Anyway. So I've talked to the recruiter before then. And when I made the decision to do something else, I remember that the recruiter said that the Marine Corps promotes through performance and teaches leadership. So that kind of stuck in my head. And I went to talk to recruiters. How fast can you get me out of here? And I joined on the 21st of December and left January 21st of 1992.
Dang.
So I left that fast.
Yeah.
And then now, being in the service, first 4 years, you make that pivotal decision whether you want to stay in the military or not. And the one thing that I've always made the decision is if I'm having a good time and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And every time it came up for the enlistment, I was always having a good time. I love the Corps. I love the Marines I've met in the past. A lot of good friends. I was having a good time. Saw, Okinawa, been traveling.
Right. There are so many perks.
And by the same amount of time I was working at Toys R Us, which was 6 years, I was already a staff NCO in the Marine Corps. So
wow.
So it moved up that fast.
Mom worked at Toys R Us.
Yes, she did. And she did.
That was her first job.
She was a department head of the front. Front customer service.
That's perfect.
And I was working UPS, underpaid slaves.
Yes.
And Dad was working for UPS, and that's how they met.
Yes.
Dad, can you describe any funny or great moments while you were in boot camp? Were there some moments that stuck out to you that you can,
I can't answer that question because it's all top secret in the Marine Corps. We don't give out our secrets.
Oh, yeah, okay. Funny moments in boot camp.
Are there any characters, in boot camp? Any moments?
My company commander, he was a dork, but I mean, he was short, stubby, and I mean.
How was boot camp for you?
I went through boot camp in Chicago, Illinois, and then in Great Lakes.
Was it the winter?
What? January?
Oh no! You went at the worst time.
Wind chill.
You went the worst time.
Was -10 most of the time. I actually slipped on the ice and hurt my ankle. Marching one of the.
He said, "Oh, guess I can't join."
Yeah. So
can I go home?
No. The cold. It was what I.
Guess I gotta skip this one.
No, that's true, right?
Ring the bell.
And we had to go everywhere we had to walk everywhere to do everything, to eat.
Walk? Is that what you did?
School and walk.
We marched. Yeah. I don't know about.
Okay, march.
About
Okay, got it. See,
the Navy walks everywhere in groups.
Hey,
gaggle.
Civilian terminology is walk.
And they're singing do da da.
So what I remember from boot camp was it was kind of miserable because it was snowy, it was cold, it was just so I was just glad it was over and we're out of there.
That's crazy. It was in Chicago.
It was in Great Lakes. Yeah.
In the Great Lakes. Is that the boot camp's normal for them to be in places that are
That's the only boot camp right now.
They only put boot camps in the worst possible places. I was Paris Island, and I was
where?
Paris Island, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I was very intimate with sand fleas.
Oh,
it is horrible. I mean, and that's why a lot of Marines from Paris Island are disciplined because you can't slap them out of your face because that drill instructor will get on your ass.
Oh no, no! I didn't think it was gonna be it was in those types of places.
Yeah, it was miserable. I don't have really great stories because I was just
can't wait to get out of here,
mommy. Help!
I went into boot camp and. The first week was tough because it was adjustment. It's why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But once we picked up from our main platoon, it was, I just couldn't I was laughing inside. It was that funny. Like it was the drill
Yeah, it was that
instructors-
feeling that you get to somewhere and you're like, I'm crazy for doing this.
You try to
That's
stare,
what I'm feeling right now.
you try to look straight and say, why is this guy yelling at me? I didn't do anything. You know,
No,
you're just
right.
trying to laugh,
You're
but,
trying to rationalize like why you are in the position you are in right now, and it's kind of funny when you laugh sometimes.
and we had the worst. We had the heavy hat, which was Sergeant Robinson. I hated that guy. I hated that guy. And a funny story is that throughout the whole time he was the heavy, and we hated him. He was like, "Wait till your daddy leaves. Wait till your daddy leaves," and then we'll get on us every time.
Yeah.
He just wanted to trash us. But the funny thing is, when I ended up in California, and I picked up NCO corporal, he walks up into my unit as a sergeant.
What does NCO stand for again?
NCO, non-commissioned officer.
Okay, just for you guys out there.
Non-commissioned
Non-commissioned,
officer.
yeah. Non-commissioned officer. Okay, enlisted side, right? He's the other side. But he showed up as a sergeant. I'm like, Sergeant Robinson, and I told him, I said, I hated you. And funny thing is that throughout my career, I chased him. Every time he picked up a rank, I was right behind him.
Oh, really? Cool.
I picked up corporal. He was a sergeant. I picked up sergeant. He was a staff sergeant. And when I picked up master guns, I ran into him again, and he was a sergeant major. And
they went at it.
I thought he retired because it was so long, but I told him, "Hey, I just got selected. Do you mind pinning me on?" And he pinned me.
Oh, the guy that you hated the most.
See that?
The guy I hated
I
the
love
worst.
that.
Sorry, Major Rosman. Shout out to him if he ever sees this.
We'll find
Pinned
him.
me on
Josie, we'll find him.
master guns. That was awesome. It was an awesome finishing. And
It comes full circle, and you never know who when you're starting off of who's going to help you finish, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember being at Dad's retirement ceremony, and Mom made a comment about how he uses people that are a lot newer into the military to run those ceremony. I don't know the term to run these ceremonies because there's always a start, right?
Yeah.
And so
Get the youngest, the junior guy to do it. All right.
right. And like I even mentioned to Mom when I was watching, I was like, these guys are new. Like, you know, because I could tell. I mean, I know Dad's
Crusty guy. Yeah.
yeah.
Come on,
well,
say it.
no. I'm saying I know Dad's stature and his professionalism so well, right? That it's like almost perfect. But when I see someone starting out, I can tell someone that's new because I've seen a veteran for years, right? And so I immediately would talk to my mom. I was like, these people are definitely new, right? Right? And then my mom was.
Why you call them boots?
And then my mom was like, no, well, you know, your dad is really big on making sure that he grabs people from the bottom, you know, and to give them a start and to remember that they're right, to remember that there is always a starting, you know?
And they're the future. Because we get to a point that we start not understanding the new generation.
No, it's true.
But we want them to understand the traditions that they're getting into.
And it's to teach
love it.
them, look, this is the end goal. You know, this is where you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna do this for a career, this is where you're at. This is how you're gonna finish. And so.
No, and I thought that was really cool when she said that because I felt like an asshole and I was like, oh shit. And then my mom was like, no, like he told me that. I was like, oh, true. Because I was like dogging on him. I was like, that guy messed up.
But that's what a lot of veterans, they stay in as long as they do is because they enjoy the mentoring of the younger generations, younger Marines, younger Navy, sailors, Army, all, you know, the leadership. If you have good leadership, you're going to have good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point in why they stay in for a long time, because I myself like have a natural joy when teaching someone something that I have mastered or at least know more about, and I have been in their shoes at one point, right? And it comes so naturally to want to help them, right? And to be like, bro, I know where you were. You're right, you can do this, and then you just need to do this,
Oh, I know.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And I used to tell my NCOs that
Non-commissioned officers, for those who don't know.
Those who know. NCO.
I used to tell them like, hey, don't count on a superstar, make superstars. You know what I mean?
I like that. Josie, write that down. What was it? Say it again.
Wait.
Don't
supposed to be
count on a
Marines.
superstar, make superstars.
I like
I thought
that.
you were making
I like
Marines.
that.
I thought you were making Marines.
Superstar Marines.
Okay.
Ali, I know you went on, 3 deployments?
Yes.
3 long ones. what is the things that you remembered the most about your deployments, whether good or bad, that you to this day look back and you're like, I can never forget that because I was deployed in that moment?
All three deployments were different.
Where did you go?
I went to I was with the 2nd Marine Division in Ramadi. The first one was the first push in 2003 with 8th Com Battalion. We pushed with 1st Battalion up to. We didn't make it to Baghdad because we were the communication supporting the movement, but we pushed up through Iraq.
Was that scary?
Yes.
I get the chills just hearing it.
It was an experience.
Was Linda calling you?
Well, there was no phone.
Right.
I'm sorry, we didn't have Facebook out there.
Albie, pick up the phone.
You know,
you didn't write to me.
Make sure toilets and all that stuff. Toilets on the move. That's what it was. MREs for 11 days at a time.
MREs.
But we pushed all the way out up Route 1, and
What's Route 1?
it's just the route that takes you right to
Okay.
Nazaria. We stopped in Nazaria, and we took over that. That's when the Army girl was saved. What's her name? The Special Forces went in there and found the Army soldier that was captured.
Oh, wow. I need to brush up on this stuff because I don't know anything.
We were part of that group. I think it was I believe it was some of the 4th Recon out of San Antonio, Texas, and some of the Special Forces went in there and grabbed. But they were in our station outside Nazaria. So we pushed up a little further up, and then the war was over. It was that quick.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was no
No chance.
No chance for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're just such a big force, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was in Thailand, and this British Navy guy told me that the U.S. military is so big, they have just islands and islands of just helicopters and planes just waiting.
Yeah,
just waiting.
Yeah, we're the biggest in the world.
And he was saying, I just love meeting people from other countries in the military because I always get the stigma that people don't like Americans, right? When you go to other countries, but I had the exact opposite.
Yes.
When I went to all, these other countries, they loved Americans. And when I asked this guy who's in the British Royal Army, which I ate that up because I love that country.
British Army?
Yeah, the British Army, whatever. And he was saying how anytime that he worked with Americans, they were the only ones in any unit or force, I don't know the term, that were always so ready to defend their country. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing to hear. All the way in Thailand, in Chiang Mai on a mountain, on this elephant, this guy's telling me.
I know.
And I thought, I almost started crying because he was like, anywhere we were, these guys were the first ones out. These guys were the first ones to go. And it was so sad yet like a proud moment in the same time,
It's crazy that and that I don't understand a lot of the things, division that's happening here in the States. Because you go to another country and they're like, America this, America that.
Oh, I realized that because I always take that with a grain of salt. Like when I went to these countries, you don't want to be like, oh, I heard that you guys hate Americans, right? I'm going to keep all that to myself, play it out. And then I'm getting to know people and I'm like, dang, they love us. I'm not saying everyone there,
No,
but
they don't.
I'm saying the general perception is not what what is perceived in the U.S. And most of the people I ask, well, have you ever been out of the country? Have you ever,
absolutely,
been to? I'm not talking about like, somewhere real close by, like the Bahamas. Somewhere it's fun, but not too cultured, right?
That's why I laugh when somebody says, "If this happens, I'm leaving this country."
And
I'm like,
you ain't going nowhere,
right? And so
It's not that they hate us. They just look at us and go, "Wait, why do you guys do certain things?" Like
and that's
policies,
right?
That they don't agree
And that's
with
any country, like as we do the same for other countries. But I wouldn't, tell someone, hey, like, and, if we were in France, like, oh, don't go there. The Americans hate you. I think a lot of it was obviously just from people, how they treat other people while they're there. You know what I'm saying? But I thought the perception was really crazy going into another country and how it was totally different getting to know foreigners about America and what they thought of America. Every time I asked a guy to say like, oh, do an American accent, it was either like, a Valley Girl accent or a yeehaw type accent?
Look, not everybody around the world loves Americans because then 9/11 would have never happened.
Well, right.
So, but there's, like you said, most of the world adores us. They think we're the most powerful country, and freedom is what we live off of. But we were aware that there were some countries that looked at us at the stink eye. Like like okay, why are you guys doing here? So. Not everybody's gonna be with open arms and embrace
right.
us. So.
And I took that into consideration when I left for Thailand because Dad was like, "Look,
yeah, Italians, yeah."
Well, one of the things that like going back to the question is one of the things that I learned in the 3 deployments is if we want to make a change in a country like Afghanistan, it's generational. It's not just we're gonna go there in 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, make a policy and just dip.
Because if you talk to them, especially I talked to some interpreters in Iraq, and he was telling me his story about his family. We were just discussing stuff, and he was like, if they ever found out that I was helping the Americans, they'll kill entire family. So I don't have that fear because, I'm worried about my losing my life, not my family's life. He has to worry about losing his life and his family's.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, wow, this guy's really taking the risk helping us out. So, we those that support us there, we have to support them.
Right.
We have to help them but as far as everybody else, talking is just a generational. I mean, the tribal leaders are the one making the call. They don't like educating women. They don't like doing this and that, and then that's their prerogative. But we can't change that by just making policies and thinking 5 years we're going to do it. We've been there 20 years and it's going right back to the way it was. So, but that's the one thing I really want talking to the locals there is that we have to train and educate the men in those countries so that they can see, there's a better way. Because it's funny because when I read about those areas used to be flourishing with inventions and
it sucks. It's bittersweet to see all that.
And then I go there, I'm like, this place was the place everything started.
That's sad.
It's weird to see that.
That is weird. It's like a skeleton of kind of what it was, before everything.
Yeah. And they could be great again. It's just the people have to do it themselves. Somebody can't do it for you.
Right. And Dad, I wanted to ask too, what kind of going into how you both transitioned out of the military, what kind of advice do you have for those transitioning out and going into civilian life? But you went right back. But
go back where?
I know, but what kind of advice?
You jumped the wall.
What kind of advice do you have for those transitioning outside of the military? Those who are
like doing it 4 years and getting out.
4 years and getting out, and then we're gonna do a long term, like as you have.
Oh, okay.
His experience is different because he went from military to supporting military. So
I mean, you can go either way. So depending. So if you're doing your 4 years, this is what I tell them. I never will convince anybody to stay in the military. I would never tell them, hey, this is the great thing. It's been great to me. It raised 3 beautiful kids. It's given me, thank you. You're welcome, Stephanie.
One beautiful
You're welcome.
kid, you're saying one good kid or 2 brats? Okay.
It's taken care of me for, 30 years. And so we've gotten to travel. I've traveled 25 countries around the world, supported you guys and no issues. And so, but I would never tell a young sailor, so a Marine, to say, look, hey, you need to stay in and do your 20 and get your retirement. Because this is not for everybody.
Right.
This is why less than 1% do what we do. It's not for everybody. I talk to a lot of these young folks. They're like, man, how do you do it? How do you do 30 years? I'm like, look, listen. So and this is what I tell them. I said, look, you're in for 4 years. Look, take advantage of everything that the military can offer you: leadership training, schooling, college, everything. Just soak it in. When you go into the civilian sector, they're going to look for that, and you're already ahead of the curve of everybody else. Some college graduate coming out of college, he doesn't have work experience, doesn't have leadership experience. He doesn't have the technical knowledge.
He has debt. And you don't have debt.
And he has debt. He's gonna have the one person leaving the military is gonna have some college back. I mean, he has the whole package. So why not hire that veteran? You know,
And as the member, why not take advantage of all those things?
All of it.
Remember when Noel used the GI Bill that I was supposed to have?
Yes. You got all that GI
I get
Bill.
none of it.
You got some of it.
Okay, good.
But and for people who are doing long term, the same thing. Get your qualification, try to get a commission. Like, I went to commission, right? Got commissioned as a warrant officer. There's programs like that allow you, those who come in as enlisted, there's so many opportunities you can take to make more money, to take care of your family, and to set you up when you get out at 20. You have resources like I did. I got out of the military and I have networked my way into government, and they were like, come on in. We have a job for you. We know exactly what you do.
Nice.
And boom,
and you got a job immediately.
Immediately, because they know what the qualifications I had. They know what I do, and I'm doing the same thing as a government employee. So those are the things I tell them. I said, look, you have to network. Take the training on. I know it's some of it is mundane, and we do it over and over. And you're sitting there, we gotta do this again. But just soak it in. The jobs that people don't want, that's the job you want.
That's right.
The jobs that people don't want, the jobs that people are running away from, that's the duty station you need to go to and take it.
Okay.
Because that's going to promote you and put you in the leadership position, make more money in your pocket, and then give you the great things that you guys had. Right?
And a big valuable thing with that is not only
avocado in your lunch boxes.
is that not only are you getting those certifications, but the militaries allow you to mess with $1 million worth of equipment and train on it.
Yeah.
Like you have those. When you go in the civilian sector, no one's going to let you touch hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment if you're just a beginner.
Oh, wow.
You got 18, 19, 20-year-olds fixing aircrafts, fixing guns, having all the responsible for $1 million of equipment. You're not going to get that. That's why a lot of civilian companies want military personnel. Because they're giving responsibility, and especially if you have all the certifications, they know you have the leadership. You're going to be on time. Oh my God, you don't even know how many.
You're going to have the structure and obedience,
and
yes.
Even though Jennifer's always early.
I'm always early.
Jennifer was always on time.
But no one wants to be on time. I can't even get.
I'm always on time.
Get a plumber on time. He tells me he's gonna be at 9. He shows up at 11.
Even though we had to wake up Jennifer every morning, but she was always on time.
I was always on time. Exactly.
She's on time because you woke up.
But the structure and the discipline, that's all comes in.
Yeah, the discipline, big time.
And I don't understand when people join the military. I want to get my GI Bill, college money, and I'm gonna get out. Well, and then you get in poor performance. You're not learning what you're in, and then you just wasted 4 years of your life, basically. Because when you get out, you're gonna get a performance. They're gonna be like, "Well, what did you do in the military?" Well, I never got promoted.
I played video games.
Yeah, I played video games and ate,
Oh dang!
Snacks
Okay, yeah.
But
ate snacks.
But you mentioned something about finances. That's another thing that young military members get into is because they have that guaranteed check, and it's not a lot. Trust me, you ain't doing this for the money. Okay,
that's right. That's right.
But when you're starting off, you're not getting paid a lot, but you get your meals, your housing, and if you play it smart, you can save enough to where when you get up to 4 years, you can decide whether you're getting out because you want to, or you're staying in because you want to, not because you have to. Because I know a lot of young Marines that get into debt buying the nicest car. Doing all that.
Yeah, because they have no bills.
Even better.
And then they say, well, if I get out, I got no job. What am I going to do? And then that's your problem.
Buying cars and having kids. Like,
and then
they just, and then, I got to stay in because I can't afford to get out.
Don't be forced to stay in because you love to stay in. And the only way you could do that is utilize the opportunities that are there by education, and then make sure you're financially stable before you get out, and you can do that.
Yeah.
You can
so be a sponge and just learn, and then do what you want to do when your time is up.
No, that's important, because I know transitioning can be super hard for people either who have been in for 4 years, and then there are different advantages and pros and cons for people that have been in, like you guys, for over 20 years. And I
want to add some. Linda asked me this question. I mean, are veterans really taken care of? And I don't think the civilian sector does enough to, look out and hire these veterans. I mean, there are some really good veterans that are struggling to get jobs. Let's be honest. They're struggling to get jobs, and then eventually they get into.
Why do you think they're struggling to get jobs?
I know there's this perception out there that you have to have a college degree to get a job, and I don't agree to that because I think the training that these guys get in the military are supersede some of these degrees. Like these guys will get some extensive training, technical training, and they have the discipline, the structure, and I don't see why any civilian sector company would say, hey, let's look at this guy. Let's put him in a pile where he's possibly getting to hire him for the job. So,
do you think that the stigma about mental health and veterans has a big thing to do with not hiring veterans in the United States? I know that mental health is a big thing with veterans, and I know that finding jobs, like you said, can become very difficult based off of prior experience in the military. I have read that employers are hesitant on hiring military, not only because of what Dad has said, on paper, they don't have right the course out certification, but are qualified. And also too, there's a mental health stigma about veterans. And I think that has caused a lot of strife for veterans in the United States. But why aren't they getting hired? And maybe there needs to be a change in more military representation in these sectors to make sure that the veterans are represented in their hiring pool. I think at this point we can't rely on civilians to represent veterans in our everyday life anymore. I think now it has to be more of a push on how can we get our veteran let's say representative in every sector to make sure that there is a quota met for veterans to be hired, and that they're not, obviously certifications are certifications, and that you need to make sure someone's qualified for the job, right? But if someone doesn't have their degree, then there needs to be some type of, if you can do the job, then I don't care what type of thing I need to have to go through or extensive whatever, because I can do the job, right? And I think I think veterans need to at least be given the chance to be shown that they can do the same job, because I think that that's the problem here. It's like, well, on paper they can't, so we're not even going to call this person back, right?
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot of programs to help veterans in the VA. The GI Bill, the post 9/11 GI Bill, because I had the original Montgomery GI Bill, but they changed it after 9/11 to post 9/11 GI Bill. And the difference is that the post 9/11, when you get out and you go to school, the Veterans Affairs will pay for your housing while you go to school. They'll pay for your school and they'll pay for your housing. Mm-hmm. So what was happening is a lot of veterans will get out, they have the money for school, but they needed to work in order to support themselves, or if they have families. So
they were going there.
Yeah, so they get BAH, which will take care of their living expense, and then they also pay for their college. So they're doing good. We just have to be careful that the government decides to cut, and the first thing they're going to cut are veterans benefits.
It's just so.
Oh wow!
They're doing a lot of stuff with now is a big push for trades. They're pushing for free trades with plumbing, air conditioning.
I was about to say, I think at this point now, I think it's up to us. I think how veterans and people who have served in the military and how they can be supportive. I've heard terrible things about the VA, and I've heard great things. Nothing's perfect, right?
Yeah, nothing's perfect.
The VA has done amazing, and the whole point of that is to support, military veterans, right? But I think a lot of companies, it starts internal. It's not like you said, it's not going to take, like we said about change. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a lot more than someone telling someone, you need to include this and you need to do this. It's an internal change from the inside out. And when every startup business from now on, when they're starting up, now has to include, how are we making sure that we are representing veterans in our hiring pool from the ground up, and because we can tell someone to do to represent it all they want. Let's be gung ho for veterans and this not share a Facebook post, like this if you think, but is that changing anything?
We're throwing a lot of money into the VA, a lot of money. But you're right. It has to fix from the inside.
Yeah.
It's not the veterans. It's the organization itself.
Yeah, it's all the red tape.
And all the red tape. I mean, the one I go to in Augusta, I mean, you hear, psychiatrists quitting. I mean, they don't even have them. They can't keep them because I don't know why. Maybe the red tape that they have to go through all the stuff, and the veterans need them. They just can't. They can't be jumping around from psychiatrist to psychiatrist, saying the same story to a different person and not getting any help. They need that consistency. So, I don't know how to fix it. Maybe farm them out to civilian psychiatrists.
I truly believe it's something already in the process as we're talking about now. Somebody is thinking about how to change this. It's the fact that we're bringing it to the light is only bringing more energy and attention to those people trying to help. So the more,
And don't get me wrong. I mean, from when I came in service, it has improved dramatically from VA. Let me tell you, these single sailors live a lot better. There's a lot of more programs like the post 9/11 is great. It's free money, and it was a time that was 100% tuition assistance for you want to go to school. So they're moving in the right direction. But I think we need to do more for veterans. Absolutely. Across the board,
especially the homeless.
No veteran should go hungry.
I know, and that's why I was always taught if you have $1, just give them the dollar because you really don't know. I'm just talking homeless people in general. I was taught if you have the $1, just give the $1 because you don't know if that's a veteran, someone that has served. And the thing is, you don't have to know that to have the heart, right? Mm-hmm. If I give out $3 a year to a homeless person, I'm okay, right? But you never know what that is going to do for someone else. And for me, I was taught you don't know if that was someone that served our country. You don't know if that was a neighbor, a friend. It could be any of us, and so we definitely, I agree, need to do and be more about those who serve and have served and taking care of their families as well, when loved ones have passed in the line of duty. So I agree with, and things improve, like you said. So I've read about the major improvements of the VA. Mm-hmm. I'll do my little homework, before here, because I was like, shit, they might ask me something that I don't know. But I have seen a difference. But we are almost out of time. What? I would like to, yes, it's on here. I would like to ask you guys if you'd like to pay a tribute to any fallen soldiers that you know, and pay respects to them now. If you want to shout them out and their families, you can do that now. If not, I'm going to end the show.
I don't have anyone in particular, but I do have all those who sacrifice since I've been in service for this country. My salute to you and your family. To those who I've served with, salute to you and thank you. Thank you for all your service for this country.
Yes, ditto on that. Thanks for allowing me to serve. And thanks for all the veterans, all the Marines and sailors that are currently out there as well. And also a shout out to other organizations out there that are helping veterans. I was fortunate to work with an organization in Augusta, Georgia, called the Veterans Canine Solutions, which we train service dogs for veterans that need support. It's a free service out there, and we take them from the beginning to the end, and they get a certified service dog for no cost to them. So I did that for 2-3 years after I retired, and I think that people like Jerry Lida, who is the organization founder, that people like that are the ones that are really sacrificing their time and effort to support the veterans. And
right.
I appreciate that.
I did want to mention one more thing before we did end. There is a huge suicide rate in veterans. And
yes,
and 1 in 17 veterans commit suicide, mostly men. And why is that?
from my experience, the adjustment. A lot of veterans that go to combat and have to deal with what they deal over there, they come back and have a hard time adjusting, a hard time with people understanding what they're going through, no matter how support their families are, no matter how much support they get, they just have a hard time adjusting.
PTSD and a lot of mental issues happen with that, right?
I agree with PTSD, but the other one is when you're so used to having a community and a family
Yes.
in the military, and you have friends, and then you get out of the military and they're not there, your loneliness takes effect on you.
And for those who don't have families already
exactly.
And
So you're a kid from Wyoming, South Dakota, like a town with 100 people, and you just got out of the military where you're around all sorts of people and you're having fun. I mean,
and
that does affect.
And a lot of people, you don't relate because you don't understand military life. And when I got out and I retired in Augusta, Georgia, I was really surprised to talk to civilians because I didn't work on the base after I worked out in town. I did school for a year and then worked. And I was surprised to find out that a lot of people in Augusta, Georgia don't even know there's a military base in Augusta.
Oh, wow.
That base has been there since 1930 something. And there are people living in Augusta that don't know it's there. They don't even know there's a military base there. And that was like, what? You don't know it's
You're like, yeah, it's right next to your job.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't blame people not understanding, but for veteran to go into an environment where there is no other veteran they can talk to, because I can talk to any veteran and we can relate. I can talk to them about the desert, how hot it was, and we can do that. I can't do that with just anybody.
Yeah, that is a big point. You can't. That's going from 0 or really 100 to 0.
Yeah, 0. Yeah.
Not the other way around.
Because I'm still adjusting. Because I was a high tempo around doing things, and now. You can ask your mom. I'm trying to fix everything in the house now. There's nothing broken, and I'm looking for stuff.
You can come to my house.
I'm looking
the sink is not draining. Jersey knows that. We need the grass cut.
So that adjusting into civil life.
Yeah, because it really is like from an extreme to an extreme, and there's no, like you said, it's a hard transition time.
Yes, and organizations like the VFW, the Legion, all these organizations that are out there, join them. The American League, Marine Corps League, the Navy. I don't know if the Navy have a league.
Yes.
Navy League is the little league, but it's the Navy League. But, join them, talk to other veterans, discuss it, get it all out. We I don't know about Navy, but Marines, military, they like to bitch a lot.
Just go to va.gov. Va.gov have all the resources, all the websites you can go to.
Yes, and as when you're visiting these websites too, make sure you're doing your research on who your sponsors are going to be. I've heard some horror stories and things like that, so make sure that you do your research on that, because there are people that want to help you as a veteran, and you do have resources. We do live in the greatest country in the world, so take advantage of those resources as much as you can. Okay.
I got one more thing. I know.
Take your time.
I know. You always shouting out to Jacksonville businesses on your podcast, and I want to make sure you put you out there. There's 80,000 vets in Jacksonville. 80,000 vets. Our military brings in about $2.1 billion into Jacksonville. Okay, so
are these in your notes? Let me see these notes.
So understand that. So take care. I mean, without the military and our veterans in Jacksonville, now I'm saying just in Jacksonville because I know you're a Jacksonville podcast. I mean, if we were to get up and go, it would devastate Jacksonville. So take care of your veterans. If you own a business, a small business, hey, 5%, 10% off on your veterans. It doesn't hurt. I don't understand why every business doesn't do that in a military town like Jacksonville. It blows my mind, but listen, take care of them because it's going to bring you more business. It's going to help you.
Linda and I went shopping at the St. Augustine outlet, and they have a big sign supporting the veterans and militaries out there. So shout out to the Augusta outlet. St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, same thing. But no,
and I wanted to say one more thing. I mean, before we,
you're good. You're good.
Look. Subscribe to Generally Speaking podcast. Click on the like button.
Hit the like button.
I always wanted to say that. Click on the like button, please. We need subscribers to look at this, to hear this podcast. Thank you for coming out, and thank you. Jen.
and win a car if you do.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
I wanted to say. I always wanted to say
She's
that. I
not
don't know
liable.
why.
Here, guys, let me show you what I got.
Thank you guys for listening to Generally Speaking. Thank you, Noel and Albe Genao, for featuring on this week's podcast. We love you and we can't wait to see you next time. Generally Speaking has the next episode on when is it, Josie? September 20th, and also is available on all major platforms. So check it out on All Things Jacksonville. Hit that follow button and subscribe. Say goodbye to the camera, guys.
All right,
We
we'll
will
see
see
you
you
next
next
year.
time, and thank you.
Trying to kick it, but y'all, if you don't want to, my nigga, forget it, but no.